I'm so tired. My joints hurt. I can't lose these last 10 pounds. If I had a dollar for every time I heard these words, I wouldn't need to practice medicine. We are living in an energy crisis, but I'm not talking about fossil fuels or the power grid. I'm talking about cellular energy. We have a population that's overfed but underpowered, an epidemic of chronic fatigue, brain fog, and metabolic stalling. Standard medicine will tell you this is just aging or maybe stress. But as a longevity physician, I look at the way an engineer looks at a high performance machine. And when an engine is stalling, I don't blame the driver. I look at the materials used to power that engine. There's a massive fracture in the scientific community right now. For the last 50 years, we have been told a very simple story about fat. Saturated is bad, unsaturated is good. Vegetable oil is heart healthy. But a wave of research published in the last several years has exposed a terrifying reality that advice was based on Chemistry 101, and the human body operates more like quantum physics. We now know, thanks to advanced NMR spectroscopy, that the healthy oils in your pantry might be generating toxins that mutate your DNA. We know that 82% of heart-healthy avocado oil on the shelf is fake or rancid. And we know that the fat you eat determines whether your cellular membranes are made of fire-resistant brick or dry kindling waiting for a spark. I'm Dr. Hilary Lynn. I'm a Stanford-trained longevity physician, and today we're doing a masterclass. We're going to dismantle the old smoke point myths. We are going to talk about the two-hit theory of heart disease, and we're going to look at why your air fryer might be an oxidation machine. And most importantly, we're going to build a practical protocol for your kitchen that balances risk, flavor, and longevity. So buckle up. Let's dive into the blueprints of your biology. Before we get into specific oils, I need to address the elephant in the room. If you go on X or Instagram, you've got one camp screaming that cholesterol is the only thing that matters, and another camp screaming that seed oils are poison and that you should eat butter like candy bars. As a doctor, I'm standing in the middle, and I'm telling you, both sides are dangerously oversimplifying your biology. So let's start with the biggest killer in the Western world, soon to be the entire world: atherosclerosis, heart disease, strokes. Here is the nuanced truth. A heart attack is not a single event. It is a collision between two factors. Factor one is the particle, the LDL cholesterol, to simplify it a bit, that boat that carries fat in your blood, the lipids. Factor two is the environment. That's inflammation, the oxidation, or the fire. As you can see, there are a lot more details to this complex process, but that's about the two bits that will matter the most to understand. To get plaque that kills you eventually, you need both of these factors. You need a particle to get stuck in the artery wall, and you need that particle to oxidize or rot, so to speak. When an LDL particle oxidizes, your immune system attacks it. It sends these macrophages, Pac-Man cells, to eat it. These cells get fat and stuck and die. They become foam cells. That is the start of a plaque forming. So let's talk about the seed oil view. Folks in this camp say, if you stop eating seed oils, you stop the oxidation. And if that road is perfect, you can drive 1 million cars, the high LDL particles, and never crash. My take is this is risky. Even on a perfect road, if you pack it bumper to bumper with a ton of cars, accidents will happen. The traditional view says just lower the LDL, take a statin, eat corn oil. My take is this ignores the quality of the boat. If you lower the LDL, so the volume of cars in traffic, but fill the remaining particles with unstable explosive fats like potholes in the road, you're still at risk. So the risk balance strategy is we want to do both. We want to keep the traffic reasonable, manage your ApoB or your level of LDL cholesterol. But crucially, we want to make sure the cars are built like tanks, not like Pintos that explode when they get tapped. So that brings us deeper into the seed oil discussion. When you eat industrial seed oils, think soybean, corn, sunflower oils, you are building your LDL particles out of something called linoleic acid. Linoleic acid is chemically unstable. It oxidizes easily. So you're not just putting any old cars on the road, you're putting lemons on the road. By switching to stable fats, we make particles resilient. You have stronger Cybertruck cars. Even if you have some cholesterol, it's less likely to kill you if it isn't oxidized. Now let's leave the artery and go inside the cell, because before a fat kills you via a heart attack, it kills your energy levels. So this is what I like to call the membrane theory of metabolic health. Your mitochondria are the engines of your body. They have an inner membrane where energy is created. This membrane needs to be folded tightly to work. These folds are called cristae. To hold these folds in shape, your body uses a keystone phospholipid. If you remember archways, they're held together with a keystones in the middle, holding up the whole entire arch. If you pull it out, the whole thing collapses. To keep these folds in the mitochondria in shape, we have these keystone phospholipids called cardiolipin. Cardiolipin is unique because while most fats have 2 legs, cardiolipin has 4 legs. It's like a clamp holding the energy machinery together. So here's the scary part. You are the supplier of those legs. If you eat a diet high in industrial seed oils, linoleic acid, your body builds cardiolipin with linoleic acid legs. That creates a molecule called tetralinoleal cardiolipin, L4CL. Now, let's do a very quick chemistry lesson. Linoleic acid is a polyunsaturated fat, PUFA. It has double bonds. Think of a double bond as a loose hinge. When you have 4 of them packed together in cardiolipin, they are prone to a clinical reaction called perioxidation. When your mitochondria produce energy, they throw off sparks, these free radicals that you always hear about. If your cardiolipin is made of tallow or olive oil, these are stable. That spark bounces off, doesn't do any damage. But if your cardiolipin is made of seed oils, which are unstable, that spark can start a fire. When that membrane burns, it releases a toxin called 4-HNE. New research shows this isn't just waste, it's a signaling molecule. Travels to your brain, hits the POMC neurons in the hypothalamus. These are the neurons that tell you, I'm full. So unstable fats break your energy engine and break your appetite regulation. That's the definition of metabolic failure. So you might be thinking, Dr. Lynn, I don't feel my mitochondria. What's causing my joint pain? It's all related, I promise. Your joint pain, headaches, if they're not due to an obvious other medical cause, it may be very much related to your mitochondrial health. Let's talk about a landmark study called the HILMA study, funded by the NIH. This study looked at people with chronic migraines and headaches. They didn't give them any drug. All they did was change their oil. They reduced dietary linoleic acid seed oils to 2.5% of calories and increased omega-3s. The result was the group on the low seed oil diet had a massive, statistically significant reduction in headache frequency and severity. Why? Because linoleic acid oxidizes into metabolites called oxalams. That's spelled OXLAM. These oxalams activate the TRPV1 receptor. You might know TRPV1. I know you're like, I've never heard of him, but it's the capsaicin receptor. That's what makes the chili peppers feel hot. If you eat high amounts of seed oils, you're essentially activating the pain receptor in your body at a low level all the time. You are chemically hypersensitive to pain. When they removed the oil, that pain went away. This is real impact. It's not just about living to 100, which I would argue is pretty important, but it's also about not being in pain today. So what should you cook with? For 30 years, you've been told to look at the smoke point. Don't cook with olive oil. It smokes at a certain temperature. Use grapeseed oil. It has a high smoke point. This is a lie. Smoke point is just a physical measurement of when an oil becomes visible smoke. It tells you nothing about what's actually happening chemically. Recent research using 800 megahertz NMR spectroscopy, that's a high-level molecular imaging, has shown us exactly what happens when you heat oil. Turns out, grapeseed oil has a high smoke point, but because it is polyunsaturated, it starts generating toxic aldehydes like that 4-HNE we talked about before it even smokes. It has essentially an invisible chemical fire. Extra virgin olive oil has a lower smoke point, but it's full of polyphenols, these antioxidants, and those antioxidants will sacrifice themselves to protect the fat. You can heat extra virgin olive oil to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or even 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and it remains chemically stable. It'll smoke, but it doesn't rot. Now, here is a nuance for my keto friends. Everyone thinks coconut oil is invincible because it's a saturated fat. However, in 2024, some data showed that coconut oil degrades rapidly in deep frying. Why? Not because of oxidation, exposing it to oxygen, but because of something called hydrolysis, due to water. The moisture in food reacts with the fat and breaks it down into polar compounds. So it turns out that coconut oil is fine and great for baking, but it's actually poor for deep frying compared to tallow or even high oleic oils. Now, one more warning, air fryers. I love the convenience, but think about the physics. An air fryer blasts hot air, which is oxygen, at high speed around a droplet of oil. You are maximizing oxygen exposure. So if you're coating your wings in seed oil and put them in an air fryer, you're creating an oxidation accelerator. If you use an air fryer, you must use a stable fat like tallow, ghee, or avocado oil. All right, we've talked a lot about the liquid types of fats. What about the solids? The fats that are hard at room temperature. These are what we call the metabolic architects, but we have to distinguish between the ancestral powerhouses and the industrial zombies. So beef tallow is this brand new thing that we've been hearing about a lot on social media, and it is the hero. It's the high heat elite. Why is it? Tallow, which is basically the fat from beef, is rich in stearic acid. Unlike other saturated fats, stearic acid signals your mitochondria to fuse. It turns on the engines. It's also extremely stable. It is chemically bulletproof, zero aldehydes. Use it when you're searing steaks. Conveniently, steaks come with tallow in them, and also for frying potatoes. This is your high heat weapon. Now, here's where to be cautious. Ghee or clarified butter. So what is ghee? I actually didn't know for the longest time. Ghee is butter with the milk solids removed. That makes the smoke point jump to 485 degrees Fahrenheit. Great, right? The catch is ghee contains cholesterol. So if you heat cholesterol to extreme temperatures over and over, it oxidizes to COPs or cholesterol oxidation products. Simple to understand. These are toxic to your arteries. So use ghee, but don't reuse it. Once you fry with it, toss it. I can't guarantee that fast food restaurants are doing the same thing. The zombie is vegetable shortening, or Crisco. This is the Frankenstein fat. Manufacturers take liquid soybean oil, fully harden it, and then use enzymes to scramble the molecules. This is called interestification. The risk is your body's enzymes are confused by this random structure. Studies show that it can actually spike your blood sugar and cause metabolic stress even more than the original oil is made of. Leave it on the shelf. Don't even buy it. This is a chemical zombie. So let's build your protocol. Based on the latest data, here is the hierarchy. Tier 1, the elite, architecturally stable oil, is extra virgin olive oil. Why? Because it hits that perfect risk balance. It lowers your ApoB, that bad cholesterol. It is anti-inflammatory, and it is stable enough for 90% of cooking. This is the gold standard. I personally use it basically for all of my cooking. There's also cultured algal oil, which is a little bit unusual, but I just want to put it out there. Companies like Zero Acre are fermenting algae to produce oil that is 90+% oleic acid. Why? Because this is almost zero unstable fat. It is the future of frying. Then we've got beef tallow or suet. This is high in stearic acid, like we mentioned, signals fusion, and has zero aldehydes. This is great for high heat searing. Now, tier 2 is the caution list. You can use these, but there's some nuance. Avocado oil. Turns out in a UC Davis study that 82% of avocado oils on shelves is rancid or even fake. So if you buy it, you must buy verified brands. Do your research. I'm not going to put a whole list here because it is ever changing. Otherwise, you might be paying $15 for rancid soybean oil. Then we've got high oleic sunflower oil. This is better than regular seed oil. It's a decent budget option. So because it hasn't been further refined, it's actually not as harmful for you as tier 3. These are the destabilizers. Eliminate these as much as you can. Soybean, corn, canola, cottonseed, and regular sunflower oil. These are high in linoleic acid. They create that cellular smog. If you've got it in your pantry, throw it out. It's probably best that you don't use it. Finally, a word on dining out. Restaurants love seed oils because they're cheap. But the fryer is the danger zone. When you mix oils in a fryer and heat them for days, they create polymerized fats. It's like eating plastic. So my rule is I don't stress about every single little bit of fat in a dressing when I'm eating out. My body has enough antioxidants to handle that. But I try and avoid the fryer as much as possible. Very little fries, very little tempura, as much as I love it. These are a bit more harmful than salad dressing. We talked a lot about science today, NMR, spectroscopy, cardiolipin, 4-HNE. But the takeaway is simple. You're an architect. You're constantly rebuilding your body, and you can build with dry kindling or you can build with fire-resistant materials. We can't eliminate all risk. Life is fatal, but we can balance the risk. We can keep our cholesterol managed and our membrane stable. That's the sweet spot, what I call practical longevity. And in the next episode, we're going to move from structure to function. We're going to talk about muscle, why it is the organ of longevity, and how to train it for metabolic protection.